Hello, ReLIVE fans! Join me in wishing Yumeoji Shiori a very happy birthday. It is a day late, as most of my videos are, but with that, that gives us a benefit of a little bit of more information than just reading her abilities. But before I jump into giving you more context, let's talk about those abilities. Now, for whatever reason, ATeam never puts in the correct stats on the gotcha reward details. So I'll have to kind of I'll give you a rough estimate because the exact numbers, with the exception of speed, aren't really a big deal. But for her HP, it's pretty good. It's in coming up on 23,000, which is in the upper half of all stage girls. Her act power is actually very low relative to most girls we're seeing these days. It's in the higher end of 1700. Her physical defense is actually very low, just above 600, 601, while her special defense, on the other hand, is actually very high, 1455 to be exact. That puts her in top 10, including including the Japanese server, of all stage girls in special defense. So she has very high special defense to perhaps compensate for that low physical defense, or normal defense as we might know it. And her agility is 1603, same as Jekyll, same as Red Riding Hood. So she's very slow. Even with a 12% agility boost, girls like Snow White will outspeed her. For her basic acts, she has a Slash Brilliance, which is great. Always great to have it. She also has another 2 AP, which seems to be rarer and rarer these days, so it's really nice. But also, it's almost a direct improvement over Hifumi's sleep. Although Hifumi is the frontmost, usually though, the backmost is some girl that you'll want to sleep in. Again, I'll give you some context on that later. But she also deals medium damage with it, which is actually, medium damage is pretty significant. That's like a power slash from Sherlock Holmes, Karn's Sherlock Holmes. So very nice for a 2 AP. And her blood barrier is a 3 AP, low damage to the front enemy, but it gives special barriers that are 8,000 HP strong. So very powerful special barriers, the same kind that Red Riding Hood gives, except Shiori gives them to the entire team. So very powerful for a 3 AP. Her climax act is also very interesting, very powerful. It's kind of the reverse of Snow White's. She doesn't get any benefit for the players or the girls already being poisoned, but she does deal heavy poison. Not the same kind of heavy poison though. It's not percentage based. It's 4,000 HP. So at higher mid bulk, it can be less threatening, but still very strong. And I haven't even talked about the fact that she blinds those back three girls. So it's a very powerful climax act. Her unit skill is just like Fanshiru, just like Red Riding Hood, just like Pollux, and I'm sure I'm forgetting another one, but I'm not going to go ahead and list them all. But it's mid offense. At the US 21, she does give plus 30% act, plus 30% critical, but just by having her out there, even if she's at US 1, that's going to be plus 10% act, plus 10% critical. So very good even at US 1, just having her out there. For auto skills, Fortitude, always good. Poison resistance and blindness resistance, kind of cool, kind of in theme. It would be very strange for a vampire to be blinded, just like Dracula. And poison, I guess she kills with poison, right? That's what her climax act is. So to give some context, I guess I didn't say the typical things like should you pull, should you ban, but this is a should you pull, should you ban video. I'm sure that's in the title too. Before we get to that, I just want to talk about how she's going to be used. She's actually very difficult to kill. So many girls are special attackers. Momotaro and Jekyll are some pretty clear exceptions to that, but Jekyll at this point should typically be banned unless there's a huge unit skill disparity, and even then it's arguable. If you want to know more about that, leave a comment. I'd be happy to explain it. But Momotaro obviously is going to be dealing some damage, but you just kind of have to deal with that. But once you get past her climax act, and I know that's kind of a getting past her climax act is quite often an ordeal. Vampire Shiori will actually do a pretty good job of staying alive. She will last into the end game. And with that in mind, this 3 AP is very, very powerful. Just loading up your entire team with an extra 8k of HP, basically. Again, because Momotaro is front row in how she's being used often, you can probably burn down Momotaro. There won't be a huge normal defense or normal attacker threat on the other team, and Shiori just continues to live and continues to pester the back most girl, which often will be a girl like Zeus, who Vampire Shiori just absolutely demolishes, or let's say Hifumi. And did we forget? This is a 2 AP. So if you get Knight's Invitation on the first turn, you can prevent your opponent from using Gust of Brilliance. Very, very, very powerful act. Again, Slash of Brilliance is always nice, especially given what kind of memoir I would recommend running with her. You would probably want to run Brilliance and Agility. And since most of us don't have Like a Butterfly, Like a Flower max level broken, and I'll show you what memoir that is. Sure, we'll jump to upgrade. So for those of you unfamiliar, Like a Butterfly, Like a Flower is this memoir right here. When it's max level broken, instead of 22 brilliance, it's going to be 32 brilliance, and instead of 8% agility, it's going to be 12% agility. Again, this does not make Shiori fast enough to catch girls like Snow White, so you need to keep that in mind. The memoir you're probably going to be using instead, which is very easily farmable from Twilight Theater, is the legendary trial Suzudaro Cat. Now this one's max level broken. It gives 24 brilliance and agility plus 9%. So better than the Butterfly one, not max level broken, but only slightly. The big downside to that one, besides being slower than other butterflies, and especially with Shiori being so slow, making her significantly slower than girls like Snow White, the downside to that is she will not charge off of a Gust of Brilliance. So you would need her specifically Slash of Brilliance to get charged, or some combination with a Gust of Brilliance. So keep that in mind when you're using her, but the very fact that she has Slash of Brilliance makes that even more effective, even higher of a recommendation that I can make to you. She is very, very valuable both early game and late game. She might not be the direct game changer that you saw with Jekyll, that you saw with Momotaro, but she is really far up there. So when we're talking about should you pull, that's actually a multifaceted question. You can get Vampire Shiori from this gotcha banner, but you could also get Pollux, which is a very, very strong girl, even though her role might be diminished a little bit these days. She is on a slight rate up of 0.167%, which, if that sounds pitiful, yeah, I mean, it's pitiful, but so is the 0.7% that Vampire Shiori has. And the other thing that's up for grabs is the 4-star Perfect Aim memoir. And I should have stayed at the memoirs here, but that one is, let's see, it's right here. It's called Poolside Incident. At max level broken, it will give you 32 brilliance and perfect aim for 3 turns. Perfect aim is becoming more and more important, and this might be the most valuable memoir out there these days. So even if you're getting 4-star memoirs, it's a possibility you'll be getting a very, very valuable card, even if it's not Vampire Shiori. So as far as should you pull, I am gearing up to go all 11 steps if I need to. Personally, I'm trying to save for Birthday Maya. as well as Venus, as well as, and you get the point. But if you have gems to spare, this is a very good banner to spend them on, because you can get 3 very valuable cards from it. Moving on to should you ban. I would recommend banning her at a tier 2-3 level. I'm still undecided. I think between, if my choices were between her and Momotaro, that's actually a pretty tough decision. But for right now, based on what I've heard, not in my own experience, I would say she's probably a tier 2 ban. That puts her in the same category as Phantom of the Opera Mitru and Cheshire Cat Mahiru. So very, very good company. One thing I need to mention about her before I finish is that she's actually very far frontmost, which is nice, again, when we're trying to get her charged, but it's a bit problematic if you're having trouble charging your Momotaro, especially if you're running perfect aim on Momotaro, which is highly recommended, though if you look at the top 10, not necessarily the consensus these days. She's farther, so like I said, farther in front than Momotaro, so you can expect her to get charged by getting hit. But yeah, so talking about should you ban, we'll say she's a tier 2 ban, probably the low end. I would probably be more afraid of Phantom of the Opera and Cheshire Cat Mahiru, but maybe a little less afraid of Snow White, given how many memoirs there are that we're running for perfect aim, and given that there's so much mid-bulk out there that we are able to run permanent perfect aim as well. So her blindness also, again, pushes us more towards you want to be running perfect aim memoirs on a lot of your girls. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment. I hope I answered many of your questions, and I hope if you choose to pull her that you get her. As always, good luck in your review, good luck in your polls, and I will see you later.